Previously on Avatar.
But I believe she can craft the Western Air Temple.
A balloon, but for war.
Today we are building Koh the Face Stealer. Is he gone? Flameo! Our recent Patreon project challenge theme was faces, which I did choose specifically for this project. But we had some really fun interpretations of the theme this time. I love seeing your projects so much. Now, for those that missed my last video, I did open my art shop recently. It has a whole variety of stickers and prints of artwork that I've done for various projects. So this time around, I did make a Last Crafter Elements frosted vinyl sticker with our 4 crafting elements: glue, cardboard, scissors, and paint. So if there are any crafting avatars out there interested in that, it will be linked in the description. Every single item from my shop is sent directly from me to you, and all the sales from that do support the channel. If you are interested in any of what is on my shop, I would be super grateful, as it allows me to keep making fun stuff here. So let's get to our Koh build. This may not look like much now, but believe me, soon enough, this pile of trash will be Koh the Face Stealer.
You think you need their help. Actually, it's quite the other way around.
Alright, well, we're in a new year, so new me, I guess. We're sculpting. Why? Koh is just a really fun one to build because it moves in really cool and kind of creepy ways, so I can make a really dynamic shape. So of course we have to start off by using some wire to make an armature. I am going to need to take this outer coating off of it. To be honest, I didn't 100% need to do this, but when I first started building it, I wasn't sure if I was going to be baking the whole sculpture. We're not going to be breathing any plastic fumes today. Let's foil it. I'm kind of worried that I'm not gonna have enough foil. Let's just get as far as we can right now. Now, as always, we are using foil to build out this armature. It's really just a bunch of crumpled up balls stuck together. Then we've got something that looks like a really terrible version of onyx.
Look! What is it?
I could pivot right now and make onyx instead. The only piece that is a little bit different is the head. It has this kind of eye shape because, you know, it blinks and changes faces. It's not exactly a difficult shape, but it is kind of tricky to get a solid base without using tons of foil, which obviously I failed at because I ran out. But I did build up enough in the end to make a good enough base to start building our character. My friends, you are witnessing a face-off today because we are facing my arch nemesis, polymer clay. So I just rolled out some sections first, just making sure that I get all of the foil covered up. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm already getting annoyed. One day me and Clay will get along, but I don't know if it's today, my friends.
Do you think we could have been friends too?
And then I can start trying to shape that eye-shaped segment for the head. Another hour of smoothing and we'll be in a decent place, and then we'll start adding things to it and ruin all of the smoothing. Now, one of the coolest and most important parts of this project is that I wanted to be able to swap to different stolen faces. So that means we gotta build a magnet in here. So I'm pressing one of these little circular magnets into a section in the middle of the front. I'm not going to attach that until after I've baked it, but I just need the section to be depressed so that it can slot into it. Kind of reminding me of Boo right now. You know what I mean? And then I can go in and just try to make that general shape of the front face section. At least we're getting to the point where it actually looks kind of like something, so it's a little bit more fun to work on. That beginning stage when it's just a lump, man, that's a tough thing to get through. Then we get to some of the more fun parts. So we need to create create a kind of eyelid shape, I am rolling out a thin piece again and then cutting one edge and then blend the back in. And then we have to do that on the other side. We blend that section in two, and then there is a second layer of pretty much exactly the same thing. To you, it's probably gonna seem like everything was terrible, and about 3 seconds later, I was having hope again. That was, in fact, many hours for me. Once that was all blended in, I went in and made some small details on the corners where the lids meet. Now all around this, its little arms come out. So we're starting with these base sections that I am going to attach first. Then I started creating some little craters on the top of these for where the arms are going to sit into them later. And then we can start making the little creepy crawly arms. So I'm using a very thin piece of jewelry wire. All of its arms have 3 sections to them, 2 sort of straight-ish cylinders, and then a pointed curvy one on the end. And I just kind of threaded them onto the wire like a kebab. Not so scary anymore, are you, Face Stealer?
May I help you?
And well, we gotta make 8 of these, so you know what that means.
Secret tunnel, secret tunnel, through the mountains, secret, secret, secret tunnel, secret tunnel.
The whole body is kind of like maybe a centipede. So it has this almost armor-like segmented layer on the top of it. To make this, I am just carving out a line, and then I'm rolling out some clay to add on top of those areas to build that part out from the rest. For some reason, it's kind of spiky on this front piece, so I kind of just had to eyeball those shapes and just cut it out as best as I could. We are going to say that's good enough. And then I had a visit from the foil fairy. Look at all that juicy foil. So we can finally finish building the armature out for the main body, which I'm going to make from a base of fast mache. I just read this and I thought for a second that it was Activia, and I was like, ah, the yogurt company is coming for the paper mache market. Originally, I was planning on possibly making the whole body out of polymer clay, but I thought that this would be a better material to do the base out of. It will make the whole thing a lot lighter. So this is super easy to use. All you need to do is mix it with a little bit of water, and then we can start laying it on over the armature. So we're just, you know, smearing this on there like cottage cheese. That's exactly what we're looking for, I guess. And starting off by just trying to cover everything that is foil first, and then I'll go in and try to start building up some of the shapes better after. So once I have everything covered, I can go in and just kind of smooth things a little bit and really try and create more differentiation between each of the segments on the body, trying to make it look more bug-like. Then we will set that aside to dry, and I will start working on all of the faces. Now, this was one of the most important parts of the project. Of course, I'm starting off with the face that you probably think of the most. Quite a few of the faces are based off of Knoll masks, this one included. So I'm starting off by making some little craters for the eyes, and then dropping some little balls of clay into there. And then we'll do essentially the same thing that I did with the face earlier, laying a couple of flattened pieces of clay over it for the eyelids. And then we'll attach a little piece for the nose, of course, and then I'm adding a little piece to create some dimension for a mouth and trying my best to sculpt that into some lips. Try to get the details as close to what I'm making as possible, but you know, we're getting somewhere. Is that somewhere good? Well, you all know I am trying to get better at sculpting every time that I do it. I think I can usually come out with something at least halfway decent, even if it takes me a million years. Slow and steady wins the race. Am I right? Next, I'm going to make the blue spirit. It looks a little bit like the one that Zuko wears in quite a few episodes, where he, you know, creates mischief, saves the Avatar, questions all his life choices.
Go! Why am I so bad at being good?
Zuko things. So with all of these, again, we're just flattening out some clay, and I usually start creating the eyes in the same way on most of these. Then I can start building up the other details of the mask. So this one kind of has a border around the eye area and then a nose, of course. I built out the mouth area a little bit so that I would have a section to carve into, because one of the key things for this mask is the teeth. So this one has kind of a couple of tusks, and then similarly to the eye area, the whole mouth area also has a long strip encircling it as well. This is so frustrating. I'm just trying to blend everything as best as I can. It's definitely really tricky when you're working this small, but
A situation like this requires precision.
the next one I made is the monkey. This one has a little bit of a different base shape, so I did cut the head with some furry sections on either side. And I also started this one with these big cheek areas so that I know where the mouth is going to lay, and then I can start carving that out. The eyes have this mask-like section of fur, so I'm sticking a piece for that on first, and then we can lay our cheeks on top of that. The cheeks have this really cool lined texture that I'm trying to carve out from this shape as best as I can, and then we can finally do our little craters for the eyes and also make up the nose and stick it in the middle. We'll go in to add some little teeth, drop eyeballs in there, and our monkey is complete. Then I started making the owl. This one starts out as more of a circle shape, and then I'm cutting some sections where the eyes will sit on either side. And then we crater and drop that eye. I made a tiny beak piece and put that in the middle as well. And then from there, we only had human-ish faces to do. We have this mustache man, which is apparently based on another Knoll mask. Knoll theater was essentially dance theater in traditional Japan. Knoll means skill, craft, or talent. I won't hammer the process into you every single time for these ones because it's quite similar, but this one has some really fun expressive eyebrows and a very long beard with a mustache. This one is an old man with quite hollowed out features. Folks, I'm really struggling here. I'm trying real hard, but I'm struggling. And some quite funny long eyebrows and a tiny thin mustache. Then I made this Fire Nation soldier. He does have some hefty, pointy sideburns on him. Could really take somebody's eye out with those. Gotta be careful. The last one that I did was Umi from the Southern Water Tribe, who was the fiance of Avatar Kuruk and got her face stolen by Koh. This one was so tricky. I was like, how in the world am I gonna make those beautiful, luscious, flowing locks? You know what I mean? And in the end, I don't even know if we really did succeed in making them. But I rolled a piece out and then I started carving very slightly into it. And then, well, beautifully executed. I couldn't get it up off the table without completely destroying it. We're back to square one. I started building up and subtracting areas to make it look more voluminous. If this was featured in a shampoo commercial, would you be buying that product? Let me know. I made this in 2 separate pieces, and then I just attached it onto that face piece, and you know, it's held on by my hopes and dreams. That's about it. So it might fall off later, let's be real. If you're wondering what this is, it is in fact a block of wood covered in foil. So we just gotta lay them out on a tray for their journey into the center of the oven. I wanted to put all of the arms onto the head piece before baking, just so that I knew that I would get them into the right shape that I wanted, but this proved to not be super successful because they just kind of ended up falling off, mostly in the oven while they were baking. And there she is, folks. Ain't she beaut? We can reattach them. What was on my list to Santa for Christmas? It's everything I ever wanted.
I have all the power in the world!
So for this project, I am planning on hopefully letting Joint Compound do a lot of heavy lifting here. We'll see. Just tried to build out the segments more and make them more defined. We let that dry overnight, and then the next day we can come back and sand it all down to make the finish a little bit nicer and smoother. I also went in with a file and used that to try and create deeper crevices between each of the segments to define them even more, and I think this ended up working really well. Then we can get into painting, which is definitely the part that I was looking forward to. Even the finest disasters can indeed be fixed by a little coat of paint. So I started out painting that most iconic face first. This one has gray around the eyes. That looks very scary. While I was working on this, it felt quite similar to when I did my fake love masks. It was definitely quite a different style, but I do feel like somehow the painting and concept of them was quite similar in a lot of ways. Then I went to paint the monkey, which is probably one of the most fun, all those bright reds and blues. Oh no, what have I done? We're gonna fix that. We're getting there. We're getting there. Looks a lot less like a murder scene right now. Then we'll move on to the owl. This one, although it wasn't super complicated, it was definitely a really hard one to paint because getting into the little crevices and trying not to get paint all over every other area was very challenging. And the same can definitely be said for the blue spirit. Really enjoyed a lot of the colors on this one as well, that deep blue with the red eyes. And then we're moving into all of the more human face ones that are a little bit more boring and quite similar. So I thought I would take a page out of the Nomad's book and deliver them to you via musical number.
First we paint the skin to start off with the base. Then we paint the brows and hair upon the face. Don't forget the eyes or mouth to make us smile. Lastly we paint hair to give it a good style.
So we'll dot some little pupils in there and all of our faces were painted. Then we can move in to start painting the actual body. Once again, starting with that eye head area. I painted the innermost layer of this black so that the magnet will really blend in. And once I had that area painted, I could stick that magnet into its slot. Then we can go in and paint the body with a brown base color. Quite honestly, I don't really think I need to even say what this looks like right now. Draw your own conclusions. And then start to go in with some shading to really break up those segments more and just add to that sculpting work that we already did. Now the top of the body is almost a layered, armored, segmented, roly-poly centipede thing. I hope that made sense to somebody. So to create those layers on each segment, I am going to be using craft foam. I cut these as I went because each shape was just a little bit different. So I glued them on piece by piece and just tied them onto the body with various bits of ribbon and string that I had laying around. Felt like I was tying up a roast to cook. Then after that was dry, I could take those strings off, cut some little pieces of craft foam that were hanging down in areas. And now we really just want to get in there with the paint. So I'm doing a darker brown. I also painted the top of the head to match this color at the same time. While we're at it, I thought I may as well finish up just painting that front section. So I painted the little segments and the arms and, you know, finished that off. Then I went in with a kind of dark wash to go near where each of the segments meet and start doing some shading to bring out some more of that dimension. And then we need to make our faces magnetic. So I called for help from one of our oldest friends. Do any of you recognize them? This is a piece that I cut off from the Spirited Away cookie tin quite a few years ago. So I just cut out some little sections of this with metal snips, and then we can just glue those on the back of the faces, and then witness the magic. You thought we were done making legs, didn't you? There are, in fact, 16 more legs. These ones are just a little bit bigger, so I did wrap these wires with a little bit of foil, looking like I'm cooking a bunch of chili peppers on the grill or something. Let's hope our little legs end up looking tasty. But other than that, the process for making these was pretty much exactly the same. There are 3 segments, 2 long and thin ones, and 1 pointy, curvy one. that's about enough sculpting for the whole year for me. I also went and made these back stinger pieces or something. I don't really know 100% what they are, but the back also has fin sorts of things. I cut those out from craft foam because, you know, whenever I can avoid sculpting, well, I will. And then I could just bake those polymer clay pieces and start painting everything. I attached those back detail pieces on first. We're going to finish off that end with some fast mache. There's a really fun little detail on these legs. They have this furry section. Now that I've started needle felting, I just do it in everything. So I'm going in with some wool roving. Every little craft you learn really adds to your repertoire of things that you can do to improve your miniatures. At least that's what I'm telling myself to justify learning new crafts. Needle felted out a flat piece first and then wrapped that around the leg and felted the ends together. I just love how this ended up looking. I am all about mixing different textures, so this was really fun. Then I went ahead and painted the back section that I had closed up to match everything else. You won't even know it was there. And then we'll start putting on the legs. When I built these, I designed them so they had a little piece of wire sticking out on the end. So I am just going in with a pin to poke a hole in the areas that I want to attach each leg. And then I'm poking that end bit of the leg with the wire through that hole to glue them onto the body, so hopefully they'll be a little more secure on there. I think the silhouettes of this whole shape with all the creepy crawly legs are just so fun, and probably a big part of why this character is so memorable, even though it's only on the screen for like 2 minutes. Then we need to attach that headpiece on and blend it into the rest of the body. This is kind of something that I was dreading a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. I'm just gonna, you know, put a flood of hot glue in there so that it can really stick and hope that it stays. So we're gonna leave it at that. However, there is one other project that is vaguely related to this that has been on my to build list for so long. The Spirit Oasis from the Northern Water Tribe. It's a pretty simple one, so I did just end up tacking it onto the end of this build, so be on the lookout for that. But for now, let's take a journey into the spirit world to speak with Koh the Face Stealer.
It's been a long time. My old friend, the Avatar. So, how may I help you? We'll meet again.
This build was everything that I wanted it to be, which I'm so happy to say because I was a little bit nervous about all of the sculpting at the beginning. I do feel like we came out with something relatively decent at the end. Maybe we're not a lost cause at sculpting yet. So I really hope that you all could enjoy this project as well, because Avatar is one of my favorite things to build things from. If you want to join me over on Patreon, there will be a bonus video with some behind the scenes and things like that. The Spirit Oasis build is coming soon as well, and I hope you all could enjoy.